C, a statically typed, general-purpose, procedural programming language that supports structured programming and provides low-level access to the system hardware and memory. It's not just a tool, but a force that shapes the digital universe as we know it. Picture this: you're sitting at your computer, firing up your favorite operating system. Whether it's Windows, Linux, or macOS, chances are you're about to engage with software written in C. This language isn't just behind the scenes, it's the mastermind architect of the very core of your digital experience. From the elegant simplicity of the Unix operating system to the databases like MySQL that house vast amounts of data, from the interpreters for popular languages like Python to indispensable tools like Vim and Git, is the unsung hero, quietly pulling the strings behind the scenes. Back in 1972, a programming luminary named Dennis Ritchie crafted this marvel at Bell Labs. Little did he know, he was giving birth to a programming titan that would inspire countless other languages, shaping the very syntax of our digital landscape. There's no garbage collector. When you create a variable, you're not just assigning a value, you're claiming a slice of memory real estate. And yes, you're responsible for cleaning up after yourself to avoid memory leaks. With great power comes great flexibility. With a trusty C compiler like the GCC or Clang, you're not just translating code, you're forging it into machine instructions tailored for your specific operating system. Your executable may be tied to an OS, but it's a small price to pay for the raw speed and efficiency that C delivers. Let's kick things off with a classic Hello World program. First, we have to install a C compiler. The obvious choice is GNU C compiler, also called GCC. You can get started by creating a file that ends in .c extension. Include stdio.h for handling input and output operation. The code will start executing from main function, also known as entry point of program. And like other, there is no function keyword for declaration of function in C, followed by pair of curly braces which for declaration of function block. To print something to stand it out, use printf followed by pair of parentheses and in between string literal hello world. All the statement ends with semicolon in C. At the end of program we return a integer type. Return value of 0 means success and return of non-zero value means failure. To run this program we are going to use GCC to compile this high-level representation into machine codes. Type GCC followed with file name and by defaulted output the executable named a.out. You can use -o flag to specify the program name. To run executable add // into terminal to indicate current directory followed by executable name, in this case hello, and congratulations, you successfully compiled and ran your first C program. Comments can be used to explain code and to make it more readable. It can also be used to prevent execution when testing alternative code. Use / for single-line comments and also write multi-line comment like this. As C is statically typed, there are only a few basic types in C. Create a variable, starting with type, followed by name. You can assign some value or with empty null value. Use int for whole number, float for floating point number and char for character. There's no string type but instead char, which represents a 1-byte character stored. A string can be created with an array of characters. Each letter will have its own memory address and be terminated by a null character. Use printf to print the value declared inside our variables. We have format specifiers that are used in the formatted string. These format specifiers start with the percentage symbol. We can also use pointers in C. A pointer is a variable that stores the memory address of another variable as its value. It is declared same as other types, just an asterisk operand in between. Use printf to print the memory address it's point to, or ampersand to reference the value stored on memory location. You can also get the value of the variable the pointer points to by using the asterisk instead of ampersand, called dereferencing the pointer. Declare constant using const keyword. When you have values that are unlikely to change, when you declare a constant, it must be assigned with a value. Arithmetic operators are used to perform operations on variables and values. In the example, we use the plus operator to add together two values. Minus for subtraction, multiplication and division respectively. Modulus operator returns the division remainder. Plus increases the value of a variable by 1, and same goes for minus. Assignment operators are used to assign values to variables. We use the assignment operator to assign the value 10 to a variable called x. We can use the arithmetic and assignment operator both to do arithmetic operation and assign new value to variable at same line to make code more concise. Comparison operators are used to compare two values or variables. This is important in programming because it helps us to find answers and make decisions. The return value of a comparison is either 1 or 0, which means true 1 or false 0. These values are known as Boolean values. You can learn more about Boolean in later. Logical operators are used to determine the logic between variables or values. Here are three main types of logical operators. AND operator, which returns true only if both operands are true. Second is OR operator, returning true if either operand is true. And lastly, NOT operator, which inverts the value of the given operand. turning true to false and vice versa. C has a bool data type, which is known as booleans. Booleans represent values that are either true or false. Boolean values are returned as integers. 1 represents true and 0 represents false. C has the following conditional statements. If statement is used to specify a block of code to be executed in case the specified condition is true. The else statement is used to specify a block of code to be executed in case the if condition is false. The else if is used to test new conditions in case first if condition is false, we can test multiple conditions using else if statement. Instead of writing many if-else statements, you can use the switch statement to specify many alternative blocks of code to be executed. The break statement breaks out of the switch block and stops the execution. The default statement is optional and specifies some code to run if there is no case match. There is also a shorthand if-else, which is known as the ternary operator because it consists of 3 operands. It can be used to replace multiple lines of code with a single line. It is often used to replace simple if-else statements. The ternary operator takes 3 arguments. The first is a comparison argument. The second, if the result upon a true comparison. The third is the result upon a false comparison. Loops can execute a block of code as long as a specified condition is reach or true. Loops are handy because they save time, reduce errors, and they make code more readable. The while loop loops through a block of code as long as a specified condition is true. The code in the loop will run over and over again as long as a variable I is less than 5 on every repetition of loop we incrementing the value of I. Do not forget to increment the variable used in the condition I, otherwise the loop will never end. Also called infinite loop. The do-while loop is a variant of the while loop. This loop will execute the code block once, before checking if the condition is true, then it will repeat the loop as long as the condition is true. Loop will always be executed at least once, even if the condition is false, because the code block is executed before the condition is tested. When you know exactly how many times you want to loop through a block of code, use the for loop instead of a while loop. The initialization statement is executed only once. Then, the test expression is evaluated. If the test expression is evaluated to false, the for loop is terminated. However, if the test expression is evaluated to true, statements inside the body of the for loop are executed, and the update expression is updated. This process goes on until the test expression is false. When the test expression is false, the loop terminates. It is also possible to place a loop inside another loop. This is called a nested loop. The inner loop will be executed one time for each iteration of the outer loop. The break statement can also be used to jump out of a loop. This example jumps out of the for loop when I is equal to 4. Arrays are used to store multiple values in a single variable instead of declaring separate variables for each value. To create an array, define the data type like int and specify the name of the array, followed by square brackets. Inside square brackets, specify the size of elements array is going to store. To insert values to it, use a comma-separated list inside curly braces. We have now created a variable that holds an array of 4 integers. To access an array element, refer to its index number. Array indexes start with 0. 0 is the first element, 1 is the second element, and so on. This statement accesses the value of the first element 0 in myNumbers array. To change the value of a specific element, refer to the index number. You can loop through the array elements with the for loop. Use the char type and create an array of characters to make a string in C. Use double quotes while assigning value. Use printf function together with the format specifier %s to tell C that we are now working with strings. Since strings are actually arrays in C, you can access a string by referring to its index number inside square brackets. You have already learned that printf function is used to output values in C. To get user input, you can use the scanf function declared in stdio.h, include file. The scanf function takes 2 arguments, the format specifier of the variable %d in the example and the reference operator ampersand, which stores the memory address of the variable. Functions are used to perform certain actions, and they are important for reusing code. Define the code once and use it many times. To create, or often referred to as, declaring your own function, specify the name of the function, followed by parentheses and curly brackets. Void means that the function does not have a return value. Should learn more about return types in later videos. Inside the function body, add code that defines what the function should do. A function can be called multiple times. Information can be passed to a function as a parameter. Parameters act as variables inside the function. The following function that takes a string of characters with name as parameter. When the function is called, we pass along a name, which is used inside the function to print hello and the name of each person. You can add as many parameters as you want. You can pass array, pointer and another functions as function arguments. In C, you can create, open, read, and write to files by declaring a pointer of type file and use the fopen function from C Standard Library. Fopen function, which takes two parameters, file name and mode. Mode is a single character, which represents what you want to do with the file, R for read, W for write, and A for appending data to file. To create a file, you can use the W mode inside the fopen function. The W mode is used to write to a file. However, if the file does not exist, it will create one for you. To read from a file, you can use the R mode. In order to read the content of file, we can use the fgets function. Structures, also called structs, are a way to group several related variables into one place. Each variable in the structure is known as a member of the structure. Unlike an array, a structure can contain many different data types like float, char, int, and pointer. You can create a structure by using the struct keyword and declare each of its members inside curly braces, followed by name. There are many conventions to declare structure. To access the structure, you must create a variable of it. Use the struct keyword inside the main method or function, followed by the name of the structure and then the name of the structure variable. To access members of a structure, use the dot syntax. Now you can easily create multiple structure variables with different values using just one structure. An enum is a special type that represents a group of constants. To create an enum, use the enum keyword, followed by the name of the enum, and separate the enum items with a comma separated. It is not required to use uppercase, but often considered as good practice to access the enum. You must create a variable of it. Inside the main method, specify the enum keyword, followed by the name of the enum level, and then the name of the enum variable myvar in this example. The assigned value must be one of the items inside the enum low, medium, or high. If you now try to print myvar, it will output 1, which represents medium. Enums are often used in switch statements to check for corresponding values. Nums are used to give names to constants, which makes the code easier to read and maintain.